Blood in the water, a mob on the hunt, a father turning from monster to martyr in the blink of an eye. Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 7 isn't just chaos. It's a descent into twisted family bonds, Nazi shadows, and one man's desperate attempt to hold on to whatever fragments of humanity he has left. But here's the real question. How far can Chris Smith fall before there's nothing left to save?
All I've ever wanted is to be a real hero.
You're one of us. We need you.
You ready for the next adventure, pal? I'm gonna pretend you found that.
Welcome back to Review. Today, we're diving deep into Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 7, titled Like a Keith in the Night. This is the penultimate chapter of the season, and it's packed with betrayal, shocking deaths, satirical brutality, and some of the most gut-punching emotional beats we've seen so far. If you're new here, I'm glad you found us. On this channel, we take the shows you love and break them down with cinematic storytelling, pulling apart every layer so you don't miss a beat. Before we begin, hit that like, tap subscribe, and ring the bell icon so you don't miss our finale deep dive next week. Trust me, you'll want to be here for that. The chase and the rescue. The episode begins in pure chaos. Adebayo is running for her life, chased by a furious mob led by Keith. Their cries aren't just hateful. They're hunting, primal, carrying echoes of history that are painfully real. For a moment, it feels like she's trapped in a nightmare she can't wake from. And then Judomaster arrives. His intervention isn't just an action beat, it's loaded with meaning. He saves Adebayo not because he had to, but because he understands what oppression feels like. As he says, "It wasn't a fair fight." The sequence builds tension like a horror film. Adebayo forced into a pool, the mob ready to electrocute her. But in a stunning reversal, Judomaster seizes control, turning a severed power line into a weapon of justice. The water becomes their grave as he pulls her out, making the mob pay for their blind hatred. It's moments like this where Peacemaker dances on the edge of satire and horror. A scene that could have been unbearably bleak instead becomes cathartic, brutal, and even darkly funny in that James Gunn way. The Nazi planet. Meanwhile, Chris and Harcourt are thrown into the surreal nightmare of an alternate ARGUS office. It's like stepping into a propaganda fever dream. A mural of Hitler dominates the wall, and every desk is littered with copies of Mein Kampf. The absurdity is staggering, but Gunn plays it for both horror and humor. Amid this grotesque parody of power, Chris makes a choice. He breaks up with the cheerful but racist alternate Amelia. It's a small act, but it says everything about who he is. Together with the real Harcourt, he smashes through glass and walls in a desperate escape, an action sequence that balances adrenaline with biting satire. Guns blaze, fists fly, and Harcourt even uses Mein Kampf as a weapon, slamming it into an enemy's skull. It's Gunn's trademark blend of ridiculous and razor-sharp, and it keeps you laughing even while your stomach turns. This is the genius of the episode, exposing fascism and cruelty, then undercutting it with absurdist action that never lets the audience look away. Augie's turn. And then comes one of the biggest surprises of the season, Auggie Smith. For so long, we've known Auggie as a monster, the embodiment of cruelty. But in this twisted reality, something shifts. At first, Auggie sides with Keith, insisting Chris is dead, and they must find him before the truth about the dimensional portal leaks. Yet when the confrontation escalates, we see something no one expected. Auggie begins to push back against Keith's hatred. He berates him for chasing Adebayo, even admitting that their lost son had been angry, unstable, consumed by his own demons. Then, in a shocking twist, Auggie gives a speech, one that lands like a thunderclap. He says he will fight the madmen, murderers, and monsters in front of me, because that's all I can control. For the first time, Auggie doesn't sound like a Nazi overlord. He sounds like a father, maybe even a man trying to protect something good in the ruins of his world. It's disorienting, heartbreaking, and strangely moving. And then, in true Gunn fashion, it's ripped away. Vigilante kills him mid-speech. The sincerity dies with him, leaving only questions. Was he truly redeemed? or just another villain with a brief flicker of conscience. Blood and betrayal. The violence escalates as Auggie and Keith slaughter the police surrounding P-Court. It's carnage with no hesitation, a massacre that clears the stage for their confrontation with Chris and Harcourt. But the emotional weight falls on Chris. When captured, he makes a choice. He takes the blame. He tells Rick Flag SR that everything his team did was to bring him back in the name of justice. It's a self-sacrifice, the kind of burden only Chris would shoulder after everything he's lost. And then comes another fracture. Judomaster lies. Asked to confirm Chris's story, he backs him up, even though it isn't true. That moment is a dagger in the narrative. Why protect Chris? Loyalty? Guilt? Or is it something deeper about Judomaster seeing a broken man who still clings to some shred of morality? The show never answers directly, but it leaves us with tension that won't fade anytime soon. The escape and the sacrifice. As the walls close in, chaos erupts. Keith is nearly killed by Harcourt, but just as the fatal blow nears, Vigilante 2.0 intervenes. He hurls Harcourt through the portal, slamming it shut as police storm in. Keith lives, but not by his own strength. The final image of Chris stopping his friends from killing Keith says everything. He can't bear another death, not even Keith's. After losing his brother, his father, and so many others, Chris is done with the cycle of blood. For once, he chooses mercy, even when it may doom him later. It's this contradiction, brutal killer, desperate peacemaker, that defines him. And in that moment, he's never been more human. Emotional aftershocks. Episode 7 doesn't just thrive on violence, it thrives on intimacy. Amid the chaos, there are small moments that remind us why we care. Chris and Harcourt riding on the peace cycle, her head resting on his back, his hand finding hers, while a rock ballad blares. It's absurd, yes, but it's also tender, showing us two broken people finding comfort in the middle of a storm. Chris's emotional breakdown later cements this. John Cena pours everything into the scene, showing a man crushed by the weight of death, betrayal, and the endless fight. He isn't just a parody of superhero masculinity anymore. He's a man shattered by the world around him. Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 7 is a masterclass in balancing chaos with heart. It gives us Nazi satire, brutal violence, shocking deaths, and even flickers of redemption where we least expect them. But beneath the spectacle, it's about Chris's journey, his refusal to lose more, his desperate grip on life, even as everything falls apart. As the finale approaches, the questions loom larger than ever. Can Chris survive the showdown with Keith? What is Rick Flag Sr.'s true agenda? And in a world of portals and parallel evils, is there any hope left for peace? What do you think? Was Auggie truly redeemed in those final moments? Or was it all a lie we wanted to believe? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading every single one. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and join me here at Review for next week's epic finale breakdown. Because if this episode taught us anything, it's this. Even in the darkest worlds, sometimes mercy is the most radical weapon of all.